Hello friends. Today I want to introduce you a very special guest, Dhwani Doshi. Dhwani is a very special person for our own expo today because this is a vegan business expo. So Dhwani is founder and design director of a company called as Creative Chase. This company is into graphic designing, advertising, and now a new wing that is of investment. This company has now started investing in sustainable models of various businesses on a small scale. And this has happened because this company has also received funding from other larger investment companies. So Dhwani is actually well placed today to guide us about how to receive investment for our own smaller businesses. Dhwani is graduate from JJ School of Applied Arts and also from the prestigious IIM Ahmedabad. So today let's get some funda from Dhwani. Dhwani, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Doc.
So it's our pleasure to have you here and please help us out. The vegan businesses are, still in a very nascent baby stages, struggling, disoriented sometimes they run out of funds, and that is the purpose of this expo, is to provide a platform, because sometimes the passion alone is not enough.
Correct.
You need some technical guidance, you need someone professional to come up and show you how to carry on, how to get funding, how to prepare your plan, how to present yourself.
Absolutely.
How to have clarity about all aspects of your business.
Right.
So today I'm looking forward from you to get the guidance.
Thank you so much, Doc. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Like I said, Investasi is a part of Creative Chase, which I started very recently, where we're investing in other eco-conscious brands. Okay, so here's what an investor who is looking to invest in your company looking for. Why will an investor invest in the company? They have the experience of the same problems in the past. They have been through it and they understand that they have a solution for it. That's one reason. Another one is they have a clear sense of the return of investment, ROI, down the line for them. And the third one is, given their professional expertise, they understand, which is example, doctors with healthcare, like how I gave an example of, me being an angel investor, invest in companies which will also need design support, branding support, strategy support, because that's my plus point, so I'm very well invested in them. Now, here are a couple of tips, to begin with. When you want an investor to come in, when you want your brand to be investor ready, foster a resilient mindset and approach. Be ready for investment, be ready in your mind for it. Only then you can progress ahead and go on a goal setting milestone path. Because you say, okay, I don't just say, oh, I'm looking at investment. Say, I am looking at this much investment by this amount of time for this amount of time, So you have a particular, goal set. And then when you backtrack your goal, it becomes easier for somebody, for yourself and for somebody also to understand you better, So the right mindset is absolutely most important, Second one is bring mentors and financial experts onto the team. What happens is when you are working as a single entrepreneur with a small homegrown brand, which is into a product, service, or idea, you are by yourself. So the decisions you take, you think are the best for your brand, but it might not be true. There is a big bad world out there, and you don't know, what you are going to face in the future. So ideally, to begin with, before you go into angel investment, try and see if you can bring mentors onto maybe an advisory board. So make an advisory board to begin with. Now, advisory boards are of two types. They can be paid advisory boards or unpaid, depending on your relationship with these experts that you are bringing on, mentors or financial experts. Like my advisory board, the legal team is pro bono. He doesn't charge any money for it. But the financial expert I am paying, because I understand the need for having somebody who's very technically qualified with money, to be on it. And you must have also realized, dear speakers, that creators are usually a little bit lacking in financial arenas. Have you felt that, Doc? What do you say?
Pretty much, they have some ideas which are in their head a lot more, and in a creative domain, but not in a manifested domain, or not like sorted.
Correct.
So they are having it, but there's no proper lending to it, I think.
Exactly. You remember the first time we spoke, and we also discussed exactly the same issues that we're talking about today. So yes, bring in the financial people, bring in the mentors, bring in the legal team. That's going to help you. Also understand one thing for sure, which I have not put in the PPT. So it's a little tip, golden tip here that I'm going to share with you. You know, if at all your financial plan or your idea or your pitch deck gets rejected, never take it as the end game. Take it as rejection is equal to reiteration. We need to reiterate. No company in the world is uninvestable. Every company needs to grow, can grow, and has the potential to grow. Only thing we need to understand is that, hey, if I am not being, if someone's not investing or someone's posing the problems, how can I bring the solutions? And those will come first from your financial experts and your legal teams. Because they are going to ask you questions, the difficult questions, before investors start asking you. That's why the need for the real team. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Then have a rock solid business model and plan in place. Now, what does a business model mean? A business model basically is, putting 2 or 3 things in place. One is your financial plan. One is your growth plan. One is a target audience. And one is your business model canvas. If I get a chance to do the other talk with you, Doctor, that we were talking about, we will discuss, how to make business models for brands later. But yes, the fact being that you do need a business model in place, and that too a rock solid one. Now, what will make it rock solid? We'll come to it in the next few slides. Okay. Get your financials in order. Obviously, the first most important thing. Understand that big companies we here are valued at unfathomable amounts. That's not going to happen with us homegrown businesses to begin with. And also understand that these companies that we hear out in the market, in the news, have gone through at least 10 or 20 silent years of work to be where they are today, and being invested into, like, with amounts like 5 million and $10 million. Now we hear these big things because those are PR strategies, but they also started small, and everything starts with getting the financials into order. So please keep your accounts in place. Please ensure that you do, work on like absolutely homegrown brands should at least start ensuring they work on the computer, on the tally. Keep all your accounts in place. To begin with, do as much work in checks, so that you build a credibility. You build business and capital, which in turn will act as a great support in the future if you ever had to go to a bank, for example, right? Now, the fundraising process from strategy to investment teaser. Answer these questions for yourself. whenever you get a chance to. So please do note these down, because this is a PPT we might not get an opportunity to share with you physically, but I'd like you to take down these notes for sure. What is your market position and how can you protect it? Understand that no brand in the world is forever. To make it a forever brand, you have to reiterate your market position every time. You say, for example, if right now, if you're a homegrown brand, and if you want to become into an SME, like a small or medium enterprise, you have to understand where you stand now and where you have to go ahead. Once you are clear of that goal, a lot of other things will fall into place. Like, for example, when you are just a homegrown brand with a sole proprietorship, and then when you sit with your team and they tell you that, hey, listen, you know what, our next jump has to be to market position ourselves as a small and medium enterprise. Once you define that, for example, you will start understanding the paperwork required for an SME or MSME. For example, in food brands, PASI registration, FDA registration. Again, having said that, as all of you all know, that when you get certain registrations done, and if you're a woman entrepreneur, for example, you get some benefits in the SME and MSME divisions of the government. So who is going to tell you about all this? If you didn't have a legal expert on board or a financial expert on board, you wouldn't know these things, right? So that is the reason to bring in these people. You understand the reason by now, right? So understand your market position, where you are and where you want to get, right? And how are you going to protect it? Now, this point is very important. Brands come and they die out, and sometimes you don't even realize. Like in advertising school, we were always given, the example of Sil Jam, SIL. You all must have heard there used to be a brand called Sil Jam. It was quite a rage when we were young kids and things like that. But then, the brand just faded away. There might be a lot of reasons for the brand being faded away by the company that was manufacturing it. But the fact being that that brand could not protect itself from modernization, let's say, or maybe, growth. And that's why brands fade away. If you don't want your brand to fade away, you have to take care of this particular thing. How are you going to enter your target markets? You are already in a market right now if you're a startup and you've just started out. But how are you going to enter the other markets that are potential ones? Because if you're going to jump and grow, your markets are going to change as well. Your target audience is going to change as well, right? So understanding your target audience and then making a pathway for it, right? Now, there's another thing which I'm talking about is, can you explain how your product will evolve? Say, for example, today you are manufacturing peanut butter, and you are you're grinding it in your home mixing, let's say, because you're a homegrown passionate brand and you love doing it this way. But it might not, that's not how an investor is going to invest in you. He's going to be like, hey, you're going to grind all this stuff, in your homegrown mixing. It's not going to be possible to grow like that. So you need to understand that, hey, if I need to evolve the product, how do I need to go about? Do I need to change the product, or do I need to change the manufacturing machinery that goes, for example, in making the product? So this is what that means, What about your past traction? Past traction meaning, where have you had glitches in the past? You have to know them and understand them and why you had them as well, Another thing is, how can you show that there is demand for your product? There is demand for, say, for example, when investors usually invest in brands that have long-term demand. It's not a fad. Let's say, for example, lots of us have started cooking from home and doing these deliveries from our own kitchens as a cloud kitchen. Okay. During the pandemic, some of us started these things as beautiful hobbies, for example, and then realized we are good at it, or we just, this is our format because we are small companies and this is how we start. So understanding that, hey, right now there's a pandemic and people are at home, so they're calling food home. But when everything starts and everything, life will get back to normal in, say, 6 months, 8 months, 1 year, 2 years, will there be the same demand for the same product? The question is for you all to answer. So that is something that you should understand as well, if there is a long-term demand for the product. But don't get disheartened if you understand that your product is not long-term. You probably just need to reiterate your product. That's another way to look at it. Now, how aligned is your founder team? Does everyone have the same goals? This one is very, very important because, a founding team is a founding team. They might or might not be with you in the next 20 years ahead for your brand that you are, working on right now, but the foundation you lay down, is going to continue forever. Like, for example, Doc, I'd like to give you a really fantastic example that I was taught myself from someone is when you go to NASA, and you ask the janitor, what do you do? So he will not say, oh, I clean the toilets or I keep the cafeteria clean. He says, I am going to every day come to office and make sure that I send somebody to the moon or out in the universe. So he feels part of the bigger plan, of the bigger picture. Your team, your founding team has to devise this bigger picture. They have to plan this bigger picture and show it to the others who are going to come ahead as part of your either as angel investors or even team members for that matter. So the founding team needs to build the foundation. When they say build the foundation, they just don't mean write down 5 good points in a brochure. They really mean inculcating these values into your team members that are going to join you, and likewise investors who are going to join you, right? So that is another point. Now, the funding process from strategy to investment thesis. Now, there are 2-3 more points in this. Does your financial plan convince investors? That is something that you will not know now right away because you're sitting in your with your 4 people in a small cabin. So you got to talk to people. You got to share your investment plan with a lot of people to understand if it works, if it's going to convince them. And I'm not talking about talking to your mother or sister or wife or a friend or husband. This is talking to, people who are in the industry, and that will probably help. Can you explain the valuation of your startup? Now, this is a process which might not be applicable to very, very basic brands, but, at some point of time, you will have to think of it. We sometimes get so intimidated, doctor, by thinking, oh, mera company, valuation hoga. Oh, that's like a dream, like that can't happen, But every company, big or small, friends, always note that every company can get valuated. Maybe you're at 10,000 rupees today and you get valued for 5 lakhs, even that's a valuation ultimately, right? But hey, you're playing with a small product, so the valuation may be small, but you definitely can be valued as well. That's for you to find out, and that's for you to dream about and, keep it as a goal, Now, there are 4 points below it, okay, which you all can read through as I'm speaking ahead. And another one is, how do you manage dynamics in negotiation and achieve the best results? Now, here is something that we're coming to. We have all these questions that I have posed here. We will answer them. We will make our financials ready. We will have a legal team on board. We will understand our target audience, like I have explained in the previous slide. Okay, so these are the things we are going to keep ready. And we have, okay, we have the financial papers, we have a business strategy, we all that is now ready. Now it is time to meet investors. Let's say now you feel that you are partly investor ready, for example. Now how are you going to go out in the market? There are lots of angel investment companies out there now that help you with these things, right? Or now, say for example, there is this beautiful forum that Dr. Rupa, you have given me, where I am an investor and I'm talking to potentially a lot of people who have amazing small businesses, or vice versa, where small businesses find or discover Investasi or Dhwani, and then they have a chance to talk to her. But my dear brand owners, there's one thing that I'd like to share with you, that never go to an investment pitch alone. Always go with your at least your one or two core team members, because when you are alone in negotiation, the investor has a larger capacity to eat you up. And because a, you feel intimidated, because you're alone, b, because you have a plan which you are sort of unsure of, c, because you are asking for the money. So always go with a team of one or two people. It gives you more confidence. And like you must have seen mostly on, even on Shark Tank, like if you must have noticed, there are like 5 people on the panel sitting there and one person is being grilled, right? And 98% of the time they land up agreeing to what the angel investor is demanding. And why does that happen? If there are 2 3 people, you might even at that point of time just get out of the negotiation saying, we'll think about it and come back to you. Team gives you strength. So always take your team along, not the entire shebang, but at least one or two very, very primary people, right? So that's another point that I'd like to bring. Again, something from my little note, okay? Okay, here's one thing I need to discuss with y'all is a CEO or a brand owner must understand that they cannot be, good at everything that a company needs. Like me, for example, in creative chase design, I am zero at accounts, let me tell you that. So I have over time understood the hard way that, okay, my accounting and legal, knowledge is absolutely almost close to nil. And I might feel that I'm the queen of my company, but that's not the case outside, so always understand your weak points and gather team members that will help you support you and fill those gaps up, like how it is in a relationship, right? Like you know that somebody else is going to fill up things that you feel lacking in, right? So yeah, being into being a great team is almost at work professionally is almost like having a team at home, right? So that's something I'd like to share with you all. Another thing that I'd like to highlight here is data, storage and availability. What do I mean by data storage and availability? Lots of us have young business owners, or young, I don't mean by age but by experience, keep a lot of things in our head. Oh, I have to pay this one, or we just keep a certain number of papers or emails here and there, and we run through our day. But if you want to get great investors on board, make sure that your paperwork, your systems, your daily, standard operation procedures, SOPs are set. It can be something as simple as a Word file. Nobody, is going to question you that why is it not on a legal document. But ensure that you have an SOP in place. Everything from, your attendance guidelines for your team members, to have you procure material, to have your manufacturing, to your recipes, to your sales strategy. Everything has to have its own document. And also understand that where does where why what is the difference between a multinational brand or a national level brand like anybody from your Unilevers or your Procter and Gamble's to homegrown brands. They have not only the money, in place, but they also have systems in place to do things, right? So that's very important. Keep all your data always ready, available, and updated. Because there are times when lots of companies say, "Oh, I have a lot of systems in place." But if I ask them, "Okay, is it all updated till today? Show me your profile," and they're not. So it's also important to be to have all your system updated very regularly, almost daily for that matter. And everything cannot be done by you alone. So delegation, that's another thing you need to understand. Delegate all this paperwork to the right department that needs to do it. If you're going to do everything, you're not going to be able to progress with leaps and bounds. Right, Doc? Do you agree to that one?
Yes, absolutely.
Right. So that is another thing. Um, Another point that I want to share here is, you say that, okay, I have all my paperwork in place now, and where do I go to look for investors? We've already discussed about how these forums are. But one thing I want to share with you all, that not all investors are looking at investing lakhs and crores. There are small investors like myself, for example, who are okay to invest even something as small as 50,000 rupees. It is possible, and there is a fantastic market out there even for people who need 50,000. Okay, how much of business stake I get out of the 50,000 is another matter altogether. But the fact being, no business is small. And if you need the investment, if you feel that, a bank might not do justice in terms of, okay, you might get the money from the bank, but what about the expertise? And you happen to find an individual, say, for example, like Dhwani, who has the expertise and has the money, grab that opportunity completely, is what I'm trying to share here, right? And there is one more point. Okay, let's go to the slide first, and then I'm going to come to that point.
Sure.
On meeting day, okay, say for example, you are lucky enough to get a quick meeting with somebody and says, hey, I'm interested, let's talk about it. Here are a couple of points that you can keep in mind. Take only 10 minutes, turn your pitch into a story. Don't put it like slide 1 ye hai, slide 2 ye hai, slide 3 ye hai. No, not like that. Turn it into a story. Tell them, be laser focused. I'm not saying turn it into a once upon a time fairy tale. Be laser focused, but also turn it into a very, very passionate story. Tell them about your passion. They want to know that, right? Explain exactly what your product or service is. Explain what is the unique selling proposition, as we say, USP of your product or service. Explain exactly, who your target audience is. This we've already spoken about. Explain exactly how you intend to acquire customers. Also, we've spoken about earlier. Explain your revenue model. Be widely enthusiastic. Dress to impress. Why have I put this point here? Say, for example, if you're a brand that is into manufacturing sustainable clothing, and if you're going to go for a pitch with denims and a chiffon T-shirt, they're going to find it contradictory. You might do it subconsciously, but they're going to find it contradictory. That, hey, you know what, she's saying she believes in this brand, or he's saying he believes in his brand, but he's not even wearing it himself, for example. Dress consciously is what I'm trying to say. Everybody looks pretty nonetheless, but walk the talk and be the person you want them to be too. Practice your pitch. Very, very important. Anticipate questions and answer them ahead of time. Show them an exit strategy. Now, point 12 and 13 is what I want to highlight. But anticipate questions and answer ahead of time. Meaning, just don't sit with an investor like when you're practicing. Don't make the opposite person an investor. Okay, अभी आप मुझे सवाल पूछिए जैसे investor पूछेंगे. No, do it like how a customer would ask you. Do it like how a vendor would ask you. Do it like how an investor would ask you. Do it like how your employee would ask you. and do it like how your, like say, for example, your bankers would ask you.
Or say how your critic will ask you.
Exactly, right? These are all your critics at that point of time, because you're the one asking for the money, right? So why are we doing this? Because when an investor invests, he is not only looking at it from the point of view of, oh, I have to put in money into this person's business. They're looking at, what is the customer going to think about this brand? So he is first going to think from a customer's point of view. Then he might be interested in, hey, I think I like the product that she or he is talking about. And then they will come to the fact that, okay, now I think it's an investable product. So the first instinct for any human being is to think of it like a brand he is going to consume. You get me? So always anticipate questions from all these role plays. Don't just do a role play practice of an investor. Do it of all these. This is something that's fantastic. And you will be surprised at the kind of answers you come up with and the kind of problems you start facing. Like, hey, I did not think of this at all. I might be asked this question, and when you get those crucial 10 minutes, almost 1 minute for every thing that I have told you here, right? You want to be 100% ready, And the last one being, show them an exit strategy. Now, obviously, no investor wants to think that he is going to be there forever and always, helping the brand grow. He is there for business too, So if you do get a chance to show an exit strategy, nothing like it, If you don't get to, don't be dishonest. Just tell them that, hey, I have not yet thought it through because my knowledge and expertise doesn't allow me to think that through. But I'm hoping with you coming on board, you will be able to help me too. So that's something. And honesty will always pay its own dividends. Is something that we all need to understand. And lastly, in creating your pitch deck. Now, before you meet an investor, obviously he's going to ask you for, email kar lo, kuch mujhe email kar dijiye, main dekhunga, then I'll see if I want to meet you. Is how every business, investor works, So when you create your pitch deck, it has to be clear and simple, compelling, and easy to act on, So you say, okay, Dhwani, now these points are like, okay, very generic. Anybody can tell you these. What are the slides that will go in it? These are the slides that you can put in your PPT. Put your problem. Put your problem in something as simple as this format. What is the problem? Put it in 5 words. He will be more than happy. Problem being, what is it that you're facing right now, and why, and what is the solution? Basically, the solution is not the money. The solution is what will happen if the money came in. That is what the solution, that is what they mean when they say solution here, right? And market, like I said, understanding your market and your market position now and where you want to get. Okay, product, obviously, traction, your pain points, your team, which is your core team and who you have on board right now, your competition, very important. Because you might think that your competition is another homegrown brand, but when you want to grow, they are no more going to be your competition, So you also need to know who your competitors are now, and you also need to know who your competitors are going to be, in the next phase for which you're asking for funding, So that is what you also need to know. Financial papers, obviously very important, and the amount being raised and for what reason, with a Gantt chart. Gantt chart is basically a timeline as to how much you need, when you need it, and clearly why you need it. So yeah, well, I guess I've kind of brought to light almost everything that I feel would be helpful today.
Wonderful. So that's quite a lot of information, and right. I think it will take some time for all our viewers today to chew, and they'll ask you questions.
Absolutely.
I think this is something, just the first time they've ever heard information like this.
Correct.
And it's clearly telling some direction, some
Absolutely.
hard work, some preparation, some grounding.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So sounds pretty good.
Okay.
And here are the details for Dhwani on the screen, but also you can catch her on her speaker's profile, and you can also ask her questions in the comment sections, and Dhwani will be able to answer you. She'll be right there at the time of presentation. Uh, and you can directly ask, comment, whatever you do, she will answer. So thank you very much, Dhwani. That was quite a lot of knowledge for us to start thinking about, and a way forward is definitely here.
Right.
Thanks a lot. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
Dhwani.
Thank you so much for having me, Doc.